It was incredibly disruptive to extraterrestrial civilizations, travel, what have you, not just around the Earth, but at great distance. All these people didn't know this when they were working on the atomic bomb. They knew about it because, frankly, the ET showed up. The civilizations out there see humans as having an enormous potential for good, but Earth-destroying potential, and also interplanetary threat.
The ETs made that offer to Eisenhower, and he got overruled. Did they?
Truman was offered similarly.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, and he was very dismissive. Oh, no way. Because the atomic bomb, that was his baby. Right. It was dropped under his watch. That first two. Yeah. And they were asking for all those sort of things, that we make peace, get rid of these things. And let me quickly say, part of the reason for that is that they knew it could destroy the whole planet, and all the radiological stuff damages the genetic material of all life on Earth, frankly, mutates it. That's why we have so many, I think, a big reason why we have such accelerated cancer rates globally. Per 1,000 people, it just keeps going up. But they also knew that when you detonate those things, the electromagnetic pulse, absolutely, there's a component within that pulse that's the scalar, which is, electromagnetic wave is like this at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. Scalar is a point called longitudinal, goes out at multiples of the speed of light through the ether, vacuum, whatever you want to call it, but it will therefore disrupt the electromagnetic communications and transport systems that are extraterrestrial in origin. So an inadvertent, unknown consequence of these electromagnetic pulse detonations of the 40s and 50s was that it was incredibly disruptive to extraterrestrial civilizations, travel, what have you, not just around the Earth, but at great distance, because you're not talking about traveling at the speed of light, right? The speed of light, if it's the galaxy Andromeda, it's 2.5 million years for light to get from Earth to there, because it's 2.5 million light years away. But scalar, now we're talking about a different thing. Now we're talking about the physics of non-locality, where every point in space and time is interconnected. You're operating at that non-locality of physics, where it's all entangled, what's called the entangled universe. When you start playing around with technologies at that level, now you can disrupt unknowingly, initially, systems that are thousands of light years away.
So this is like the speed of thought.
It's between the speed of thought and the speed of light. All right. Okay. So there's a scale here. Consciousness is omnipresent and thought's instantaneous. 3D, anyway. These would not be instantaneous, but they're not limited to the speed of light. Something in between. But enough that it basically collapses the time frames to instantaneous at reasonable distances out in space, and I mean interstellar distances. So that wasn't known. But keep in mind, Oppenheimer, Edward Teller, Werner von, all these people didn't know this when they were working on the atomic bomb. They knew about it because, frankly, the ET showed up. Because when that happened, it's the equivalent of a big red flag going over a planet saying, whoa, this planet's not only a danger to itself and could destroy itself, but now they're a danger to innocent planets out there in space. So that is the inflection point. That is your tipping point where a civilization like ours crosses that Rubicon. We go over into that area and we're still acting like a bunch of murderous monkeys, right? But now we're not hitting people with clubs over their head, or even a rifle or a conventional bomb. You're dealing with technologies that are disruptive to the fabric of the universe. So that is why there was this huge number of sightings, and still are, around our nuclear facilities, missile facilities, civilian and military, atomic, that began in the 40s, 50s, 60s.
Okay.
Right? If you look at the testimony of Colonel Diedrichson gave us a very detailed account of this, and he was in charge of all nuclear facilities for the Air Force in the continental United States. And he's one of our disclosure witnesses. He's in the book. Of course, nobody reads, but I think reading's not allowed anymore. Hasn't it laws? I think laws are being passed. It's against the law to do math and read. Anyway, I know. I'm half joking, just half. But that's what happened. And so that part of the history is very current, because the reason there's still a huge problem on this subject is the civilizations out there see humans as having an enormous potential for good, but Earth destroying potential, and also interplanetary threat. We're a threat, not the ETs. I mean, if the ETs were a threat, newsflash to all you paranoid nut jobs out there think they're coming to eat us for lunch. They would hit a button, and in a fraction of a nanosecond, the Earth would be dissociated, all its atoms, into a mist out in space. Literally, I'm not joking. So they're obviously not hostile. The level of technology they have, we'd be done. However, key thing I've said for 30 years, these civilizations are very unhappy with human hostility blended with these types of weapons that actually are a threat to life on Earth, which very well may be a long-term project of some of these civilizations in terms of assisting here, but also is a threat to their home planets. So I think that is the crux of the issue. You know, I've always said the solution is universal peace, not world peace. And we got to get there. I mean, the League of Nations fell apart in 1917 or around that time. I think that what we're looking at is, 100 years, I call it the lost century for a reason, 100 years of lost technology, but also lost social and conscious evolution due to this issue and the secrecy that's been imposed. It's not going to change by doing the same thing over and over, right? That's insanity. Right. It's going to change because people finally realize what the stakes are, and courageous men and women step up to the plate and try to fix this. So,
right. Yeah. I when I hear people talk about, the ETs are here and they're here to take this, I really think there's probably nothing on this earth that they covet, actually.
Oh, there's nothing. Yeah. No, but except the beauty of the earth and biosphere and humanity itself, right?
Beautiful.
That they do want to preserve, but they see us destroying it pell-mell, racing into the future pell-mell, destroying the environment, endless wars, radiation everywhere, on and on and on. And, look, they're simply never going to just land and force us to grow up and evolve.
Right.
That's not how civilizations evolve.
That's a common question. Common question.
Very common. I call it cosmic codependency. It's cosmic codependency, because they want people to they want these ETs to be either the devil or their savior. They're neither. Now, if things were to get really bad here, my understanding, there would be a massive extraterrestrial intervention. But we're talking extinction level event, billions of people dead, etc. It's not going to happen just because UFO people want it to happen. Moreover, how could they do that? They would have to stand down so many systems. I mean, the planet is an armed camp right now. In fact, I was with one of our top secret guys who works very high up in this issue covertly currently. And we were talking about, the use of these EMP scalar weapons. He says, oh yeah, we have portable ones. He says, I can go to the dumpster here at my corporate facility and pull them out of the dumpster and put them on a Jeep and go out to someplace and boom, hit. In fact, he said, I was over in Bosnia and saw these being used. back in the 90s, right? So covertly, where you could just target a whole, tank division or whatever, all the electromagnetic components of these engines on trucks and cars and planes and helicopters would stop. And there is like shooting fish in a barrel. He was part of that operation. So that is the problem. It's like, it's not like they're going to be able to come in 3D, land and say, hey, how y'all doing? Let's have a latte or whatever. I mean, let's get real. There's no place on the earth from space and land and sea that isn't monitored by these covert government programs and trans-government illegal programs and they have these technologies. So the only way they could even intervene the way people fantasize would be to shut all that down. Guess what? If they do that, the spinmeisters in the media, the shills in the media that work for these big corporate and transnational interests are going to say, hey, we're being invaded by aliens. Now we need World War III. It's a trick. So the intervention people think they should do, if they did it, would result in a staged World War III scenario that's interplanetary.
Right. Is that
so? This is a real catch-22, right? So this is why we humans and our leaders have to act, and why everyone listening needs to be writing to your president, your members of Congress, and if you're in another country, your members of parliament or whatever you have, and saying, look, this needs to be dealt with by our wise elders and people who have the best interest of humanity in mind, not the best interest of their greed and profits and control. But that hasn't happened in 70 years.
Well, that's another question that
maybe it will.
We talk about how they, okay, so it was Truman that they actually spoke with. Did they?
No, and Eisenhower. Both Eisenhower and Truman did have
they
meetings.
Offer this to by any chance, did they offer this to other governments on this planet?
That's a good question. My understanding.
Remember the day the Earth stood still? I mean, they wouldn't offer it just to one. They had to be to everybody. And I always wondered, did they offer this to other governments? And if they did, do we have any information on what they said?
I've only heard indirect rumors. I know the operations the ETs have done to contain the worst of these nuclear accidents have been global. I mean, remember our 20th anniversary of the Disclosure Project event that happened in 2021. We had a former Soviet general testifying to the fact that there was a nuclear warhead overheating that they weren't aware of. And the ETs came in and stabilized it, because if it had detonated, it could have triggered a cascade leading to World War III and what have you. So we do know they have intervened. As to whether or not other leaders from other countries have had a similar events happen, I don't know. Remember, at the end of World War II, Europe was in ruins. The Soviet Union was also in ruins, economically and otherwise. The United States was intact, and we were the both financial by then and technological behemoth that emerged out of the ashes of World War II. So, and I think that's why, we had the first atomic bomb and then the hydrogen bomb, et cetera, and so on. Now the Soviets had Sputnik, but then we made up for it in space with the Apollo and the Mercury and Apollo and other. But this whole area of technology, I think that the ET saw the United States as the prime movers. Certainly China wasn't involved with that, and all of Europe was in ruins, and the Soviet Union was very much damaged because they were really damaged by World War II directly, unlike, we didn't have the sort of issues in continental United States from World War II. So I think the ETs, it was a logical, if I were putting on my ET hat, it would be illogical that that's where the action is. That's who you got to reach out to. Right.
Right.
It's rational.
Well, this is a fascinating history here. Really, truly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Someday we need to do the whole currently really not known history from
unvarnished truth.
The unvarnished truth, but a lot of it comes from me meeting with and acquiring information from over 1,000 people over the last 34 years that I've been doing this. I'm 68, literally half of my lifespan. And you meet enough people that connect dots. And I feel like our job with the Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive, and here's some breaking news. We're hoping in the next month or so, that will be the website, and the archive will be at its beta test stage. And we're going to let everyone have access after we see that it works. And we're going to have to do an initial crowdfunding to support that, about $500,000. We've already spent about $400,000 putting it together. But the bandwidth usage of this much terabytes of content being seen by millions of people will bankrupt us. So we're going to have to find a way to I don't want to put a fee on it. I want to make it totally open to everyone on the planet, because it's going to be the Wikipedia, as it were, of all things dealing with this issue. But that's expensive, and we're not funded to do that. So we're going to ask you guys to help us. And if you want to come in March at Hot Springs, Virginia, near Thomas Jefferson's hot spring pools, at our retreat center, we're going to have a gathering. We can only take about 20 people in that retreat center for a week, where we're going to go through the entire secret archive. And I'm going to do these dot connecting modules, these intelligence briefings that will be eventually cleaned up and put in there. When we first open the archive to the public, that all that intelligence information is not going to have these modules. We only have a couple of them that I did for the special forces and law enforcement people, and for the Senate. That will be cleaned up and redacted for obvious reasons, security reasons. Those we've done, but I'd say there's probably 15 or 20 of them that are extensive that have not been done.
Right.
And remember, we have like a dozen or 20 categories: crash retrievals, top secret witnesses, government documents, thousands of them from all over the world, many of them not declassified, that we've acquired that are still top secret. All that's going to be there. So anyone with a computer or phone will be able to get in there and see it.
Right. So I know you're having for 20 people in person, but are you also, is there going to be a virtual availability for people to attend?
Oh, yeah. So the limits of our retreat house are such that we can't have too many people there, but we're going to live stream it to the public. Now, initially, it looks like we could take about 1,000 people on the system we'll have, but we may be able to get more. So that's available. Those of you get on our site, you can register for it remotely if you can't come in person. I think the in-person is about 2/3 sold out for occupancy. But if you still want to come, there's room, as of right at this moment.
Right. The living room there will only hold so many people.
Yeah, about 25 people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our crew and about 20 others, and we're maxed out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Greer. This is great information.
Thank you.
This has been very informative. And we'll do more of these updates. And as you get breaking news, we'll do quick updates for people.